Brian, do you know who is Levitsky?
Levitsky, that was Bill Clinton's friend, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no. Steven Levitsky, not Monica Lewinsky.
Lewinsky, that's true.
Steven Levitsky and Daniel Ziblatt are the authors of a book.
Yeah, we've spoken about this book before. You told me you read it. Yeah.
Yes, last week.
2 weeks
we
ago.
Said, well, yes, episode 5 would be about this book. How Die Democracies. And I don't know what you were thinking about, but well, anyway. Have you ever heard the expression market failure?
Of course.
And what do you think it is?
Market failure is when a company dies of its own accord. Or when all the companies die.
No, well, it is not so easy. It shows there is a misalignment between offer and demand, and something is failing in the formation of the price of goods and services.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, a
lack of information, asymmetry of information. Well, and now we can apply this concept as well to democracies. And these two authors coin a new expression. Well, it is not new, really, but they coined this expression from the point of view of political science. And it is the idea of democracy failure.
Okay.
Democracy is something delicate.
It certainly is, yeah. We're used to it. No, we live in a democracy and this is all we've known. And we think this is just how things are, but when you look at human history, this has certainly not always been the case, and it's a lot more delicate than what we think.
It's very delicate. And we think, or we used to think that democracies died due to coups, military coups.
Yeah.
But these authors try to explain in this book paying a lot of attention, but not only to Donald Trump presidency in the United States. First one, he wasn't chosen again by American people, but well, he's a young guy, perhaps he comes back.
And he has a lot of energy, it seems.
Yes, he eats a lot of hamburgers, so he's very strong. So these authors, Levitsky and Ziblatt, they try to warn us that in our days, democracies can die due to the action even from people democratically elected.
That's true. That they can be elected to the top, and then they can then change, not to make it a democracy, but a autocracy. No.
Yes, more or less. Yes. Well, we have a historical example, sadly well known, Hitler's arrival to power in Germany. And well, these authors in how democracies die, they speak about Hugo Chavez, for instance. I was this guy from Peru, the Japanese. Fujimori, or something like. I don't know how to say this in English. It was Alberto Fujimori.
And you were quicker than Google. I was about to Google it, but you got it.
Yes, like that. Yes, he was of Japanese origin, and he's an example as well of how a person that was democratically elected deviated the action of his government, and finally, like you mentioned, changed the rules, and democracy was lost due to the circumstances.
And this wasn't the case in Spain, right? Franco, he used a military coup. Would I be right in saying that? I'm not too familiar.
Well, that's his mentioned in the book as well. But in this case, this was a civil war. It is not.
Yeah.
It was a civil.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a coup, a civil war, but he wasn't in any case elected.
Yeah.
He was elected by weapons and by his.
And that's the point of the book, that nowadays it's very unlikely that a coup or military coup will happen again, but it's more likely that it'll happen through elections.
We think a military coup is necessary, a war, a civil war, but no, they try to warn us that nowadays things don't follow this pattern. So we have the case of the first democracy in the world, the USA, and living in one country with a deep tradition of democracy, and how the power is distributed, and there is a balance among all the parties, the political parties, and a mutual respect. That's an important point as well. If we lose mutually respect, that's the first step to at least to lose the quality of our democracy.
I mean, that's the main idea, no? That people are equal and have an equal right. So if that is lost, this mutual respect, as you say, it's only a matter of time, I suppose, before the democracy will fail.
Yes, and the next stage is when rivals say you are not a good citizen, you are not a good American, you are not a good Spanish. This may happen in a lot of countries, and really it sounds familiar, not only about the things that happened in the USA. We've seen in countries like Spain, France, Italy, how this political debate is much harder. And if you consider that your rival, your political rival, is of far lower quality, that's a big risk.
That's true. And we do see that nowadays, right? Both sides think the other side are either evil or stupid, but it's not a very good way to look at it.
No, and not even when the Constitution is not respected. For instance, in the USA, there is a huge respect to the founding fathers. There was a point shared by all the parties, by all the people. When this common sense of belonging to a community, a history in common, when this is lost, that's the beginning of the ruin of the building of democracy. And
that's really the foundation, no, or the bedrock of it is, well, as you said before, the Constitution, but then this respect, people who made it.
That's the bedrock of our life in common. If this bedrock is not so solid, then political parties don't do their work properly. And for me, what is even worse, they reflect this rivalry in the street. People divided again. And that's, as we said, democracy is delicate, but this issue is delicate. Democracy hasn't been there for all our lives. It is something recent, and it must be preserved. If not, this high standard of living we have, especially in Western countries, may be lost. And what is worse, we are the model for a lot of countries in the world to look at and to be replicated.
Yeah, to imitate or to try to move in this direction, definitely.
So we are sending at the same time an inadequate message to the people, not only in our countries and worldwide.
Going back to our illustration of the foundation or the bedrock, when the foundation isn't set properly or when it gets damaged, the second then there's something a bit shaky. It's not that things happen gradually. If a building, as we have the image in our head with foundation, if it is damaged, the building doesn't fall down gradually. It falls down all in one go. And the very same thing can happen with, as we said, with democracies when this foundation isn't respected.
And well, even China could say they have a better model than we have. And they're doing that.
Well, no doubt they do say that.
They're very intelligent. Yeah. They use their cards, they use the rules when they have to. And if they say we are not as solid as we thought we were, they will try to promote their own rules. And now each one of us should reflect about their rules and our rules. Well, now, complex matter.
Very complex. And in the book, they speak about how to prevent it, how to prevent the democracies dying. But did you pick up on the main points? They said if we notice these demigods or people trying to get elected to power, that's not to just go along with it as this is what usually happens, but to draw a line in the sand, saying this is the line that we will not cross, or to say no when necessary, right?
But the difficult thing is that should be done first by people of the same party. If you see in your party, we have people like this, you have the responsibility, not against people thinking like you, but against all the community, that you should stop that guys with that line you mentioned. And it is sometimes it is done, but in some other cases it is not so easy. It was really not easy that Donald Trump could be the president. This shows itself that the system failed.
Okay. You say it wasn't so easy because there were many people against him, or?
No, because he had a small percentage, small probabilities to be chosen.
Yeah.
Because to be chosen before you go to the final elections, there are a lot of previous steps.
Of course, yes.
And some of them, not some, a lot of them are inside their own party. In this case, yes. Republican Party.
Yeah.
So in the book, Levitsky and Ziblatt, they show that how in some cases with inadequate candidates for the general interest, these mechanisms really worked.
Yeah.
But in this case, they didn't.
But then oftentimes it becomes a popularity contest of who will get more votes. So they will choose, instead of choosing the competent person because he's less likely to get the votes, they'll choose the person who.
Well, and social media is something new as well. Now, social media is offering you a support that 10, 15 years ago you didn't have. Now you have the chance to reach a lot of people that years ago it wasn't reachable for you as a candidate. So I think we're speaking about very serious things. We should speak about less
serious, less deep.
Yes, next week we're going to speak about the Green Swan.
The Green Swan, okay.
Do you know what the Green Swan is?
We've spoken about this before, and at this exact second, I can't remember, but it's something to do with markets again, am I right? Something.
No, do you know who Nicolas Taleb is? Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the Black Swan. Well, don't tell me. Tell me next week.
Next week, we speak about it.
Green Swan is a derivation from the Black Swan, and it has to do with climate change and the role coming from central banks.
Okay.
Next week, there will be an important meeting for climate change and the role developed by central banks.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, next week we will take this topic, right?
Right.